end crime and violence if we all agree to do one thing: share. Let's share our wisdom, share our time, share our talents, share our finances, but most of all, let's share our love. This is the Female Solution. Join me, Naima Latif, every morning, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Standard Time, as we bring you stimulating discussions about the issues affecting our lives. If you're listening online at www.blogtalkradio.com/the-female-solution, press the blue button that says follow and get our daily topics every morning directly to your email and your smartphone. Hi, I'm Naima Latif, executive producer of the Female Solution radio show. We invite you to call in 515-605-9325 and participate in this daily think tank as we examine the challenges we face and develop solutions that restore peace and harmony. One. Wherever we live on this earth, we are one human family. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to extend a greeting to all the members of our family, whenever and wherever you may be listening around the world. To our family in China, Ni Hao. In India, Namaste. In Japan, Konnichiwa. In Korea, Annyeonghaseyo. In Russia, Здравствуйте. In Germany, Guten Tag. In Poland, Dzień dobry. In France, Bonjour. In Spain, Hola. In Italy, Ciao. In Egypt, Ahlan wa sahlan. In Ghana, Akwaba. In Nigeria, Peleo. In South Africa, Sawubona. In Senegal, Nangadef. In Kenya, Jambo. In Israel, Shalom. In Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Saudi Arabia, Assalamu alaikum. Greetings, and may peace be upon you all. What if you could live to be 120 years old and remain active, healthy, alert, and vibrant? Our bodies are made up of cells that are constantly rejuvenating. So if we take proper care of ourselves, we can literally defy aging. Join us every Tuesday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Standard Time to learn about self-care from Suson Essentials on the Female Solution Blog Talk Radio Show. Learn how to help your body and your cells feel rejuvenated each day through proper nutrition, sleep, frequency medicine, and many unconventional methods of self-care. I'm Jodi Suson. Join me and my amazing guests by calling in at 515-605-9325 and press 1 to speak. We'll help you achieve a breakthrough in your health today.
Well, good morning, everybody. It is a partly sunny day out here in Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm sure I'll get the weather report from Naima Latif and Laura Lohrmann this morning because they're in Chicago. Very interesting. We had snow in Georgia. We left Illinois to get away from the snow. Just saying, and we got it here anyway. Sometimes you just, what you resist persists. I'm just gonna say. So there's always a lesson. So today I have a very good friend of mine on the show. Her name is Laura Lohrmann, and she is quite the specialist. I call her Dr. Laura sometimes. When she came over to my house when I was living in Gray's Lake, I called her doctor because she's brilliant and how the body works. And Laura and I have been on a journey. And let me back up. So Laura does muscle activation technique, which I will let her explain what that means. And she also does craniosacral therapy. And we've been on a journey together and helping each other, right, with our health concerns. Just because we're healers doesn't mean we're always healthy. It just means that we are looking at other ways to heal so we can help you. But her dad got sick, and it was quite a learning for both of us. And so we're going to talk today about why Laura chose to the path that she chose for muscle activation technique. We're going to talk about her father's journey. He's really doing well, and we're so proud. George, if you're listening, 2 thumbs up, man. And we're going to talk about how spirit works in such alignment with science. Not all science, but this science. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on Laura Lohrmann, and I'm going to bring on our executive producer, Naima Latif. So.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Great morning it is, yeah.
Welcome. So, science meets spirit. You Wesley Rabbit, you.
I love it.
So,
we don't have sunshine here yet this morning, by the way, because it's still dark.
Oh,
Yeah, it's just the sun is just now emerging, and it is cold. It's been cold for the last several days, so yeah, you did good to get away.
Andrew made a snowman the other day. I'm not.
It's,
I don't know what we got away from. Maybe an extra
23 degrees though. It's probably not as cold. It's 23 degrees right now.
So we had 30.
Yeah, we're a little colder.
It's 7
No,
degrees
it's frozen.
colder. I'm just saying.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
So,
oh well.
This is such an exciting. This is, whenever I end a show, I go, "Oh, this is my best show," right?
That's good. Each one's the best one.
So first, Laura, are you still a professional athlete, or?
No, I mean, I still do a lot of, I still participate in a lot of sports. I still snowboard, and I don't wakeboard anymore, but I wake surf and I water ski for a show ski team up in Wisconsin, and I golf. So I like to stay very active, and like my goal has always been to be able to keep myself doing the things I love. So that's kind of, that's how I got into the passion of what I do for work as well. So
tell us, first of all, I would like a little background, because Andrew always remembers exactly. Because it's so above my head. It's like, kind of like how you are on the board, I think. Share with people, because it's X Games, right? Like.
Yeah, so I was in the 2005 X Games. So I wakeboarded for professionally for 8 years, competing. We had a pro circuit. So I traveled all around the country. I've been out of the country a couple times to compete as well. I've been to, I was in France and Australia to compete. So I've had some out of the country travel as well. I actually show skied before I got into the wakeboarding. I show skied in Germany in a ski show over there. So I've been water skiing and on the water all my life. I grew up on a lake up in Wisconsin, and just kind of
report fish.
Yes, correct.
Yeah,
Correct. Exactly. But so I grew up, I was raised on a lake up in Wisconsin, got into water skiing when I was young, started show skiing on a local show ski team that was on the lake. And it was a blast. It was a family affair. So my whole family was involved. My dad was a boat driver, and actually he's back boat driving again for the team that I'm back on. So that's been fun. So I started, that's kind of really how I got into, more than just the recreational skiing. When I turned 18, my summer job in between going to college was I skied at Marine World out in California. So that was kind of like a SeaWorld show. Marine World was just a separate place out in Vallejo, California. So I show skied there. And then when I graduated, I went to Germany.
Page. I'm going to pull up your Facebook page.
Okay.
All right. So keep going.
So I did some show skiing. Then when I graduated from college, I didn't want to get a real job. So then I decided that I was going to pursue professional wakeboarding. So I found a coach, started working with him, and started competing. And it just was kind of a journey through there. It was a blast. Had a ton of fun, but it does beat your body up a little bit. So I'm
going to show people how it beats up the body. Okay.
Okay.
A minute here. So check this out, peeps. Score.
Wow.
So that's surfing. So that's wake surfing. That's a little easier on the body than the wakeboarding. But the wakeboarding, a lot of aerial tricks. So you catching edges and falling and whiplash. Like whenever I've gone to get therapy, they're like, "Have you ever?" I'm like, the answer is probably yes. just yes. Assume yes.
Well,
Probably.
Can you explain the difference for those who are water ignorant? Can you explain the difference between wakeboarding and surfing?
Yes. So wakeboarding, you're actually attached to the board, and you're being towed by a boat. So you've got your feet, you're still standing. So your feet are in the bindings. Think like snowboarding. A lot of people know what snowboarding is.
Yeah.
So it's a similar.
Naima and I are both in the second grade right now.
It's all good. So you're standing on the board, and your feet are in bindings hooked in, and then the boat makes a wake, which is like a ramp, and you use that wake to do aerial tricks and flip and spin and get all crazy. So, yeah. But
wakeboarding, what we're looking at right here.
What you're looking at right there is wake surfing. So
surfing.
So you're still behind the boat, but you're pretty much just you get up with a rope, and then you can let go, and you can actually surf the wave behind the boat. So your feet aren't attached, but you're riding like a regular surfboard. It's a smaller surfboard than you would on the ocean, but it's shaped like a surfboard, a smaller surfboard. And then you can actually ride the wave without the rope. Ton of fun. Also,
feet are hooked in there. Is that what you're saying in that picture?
No, in this picture, no.
You're not.
My feet are not hooked in.
Whoa!
So surfing, your feet are not
hooked in there.
Correct. What was that?
Wait, I want everybody to get a close up on this. So check this all out. Damn.
Yeah, the board's out of the water there, but my feet are not hooked on.
Okay.
All right.
Looks like fun.
Wow.
Yeah.
Crap. So. Okay, so we'll let it. We'll get the people back in. So that's crazy.
So a lot of fun. But and like I said, so the wakeboarding, you have a tendency to, when you're learning tricks, and even every once in a while, and you make a little bit of a mistake, you can easily catch an edge of the board, which can then slap you into the water, which can sometimes feel like concrete. So water's not always that soft. So as much fun as it was, that's wakeboarding. So what you're seeing there is actually wakeboarding, but I'm wakeboarding with my niece. So that's my niece that I'm on the water with. So I'll still do stuff like that. I'll take my nieces and nephews out, but I don't get all crazy and do flips. So yes.
Wow.
So so I had some injury
too.
What was that?
I mean, she's doing it too.
Oh, she's a little ripper. Yeah, she's awesome.
Wow.
So it's kind of a family thing. Like all of my nieces and nephews, they do some kind of water sport. So they all either water ski or wakeboard or surf so that's why I got back into the show skiing a few years back, is because my sister's kids actually joined the water ski team. And she's like, "Come ski with us again." And I was like, no. And then the next thing you know, I'm skiing, and then I was show director of the team. So, it's fun.
Cool.
Yeah. So kind of a passion of mine. I love the water. I absolutely love the water. So it's a great place to be. But
I'm pulling up some other photos here. So I'm pulling in and out. You can tell us which one of the girls which girl is you here.
Okay.
Because, I think it's important. I mean, here's the thing. Laura still, Laura got into muscle activation technique, and craniosacral therapy, because she needed to help her own body. And look what she was doing, guys.
Okay, so where am I at? This is me right here.
Which one?
Right.
Right.
I am to the, like, if you're looking at the screen, I'm the fourth girl from the right side.
Fourth from the right. Okay.
Yep.
We see you.
Your leg is up, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, your legs are up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody's holding the rope with their. So everybody's holding the rope with their ankle.
Oh, I see. That's the rope you're holding, like on a bar.
Yep.
I see.
So our arms are free. Yep.
Oh,
with the ankle.
Yep.
Wow. Water rockets.
Yep, basically. That's exactly what we were.
Like fun.
So and the reason I'm making, and we've got some comments here. Andrew's so funny. He's surfing chick. Naima, your face got covered up. Sorry, honey. And then we've got Vieta, Grand Rising, beautiful queens. Love the photos. Yeah, it's just not so cool.
He's a water person too, so yeah.
Yeah. So, like, to me, I'm standing out on the sidelines here.
Hey, we need the cheerleaders too. I mean,
I'll be your cheerleader.
Hey, you'd be great behind the mic. That's what. My sister water skis too, but she actually was announcing for the team, and she's phenomenal at it. So, like, she was unbelievable. So, because you have announcers for the show,
right?
Yep.
Okay. We're all there. So here you are. You're doing all this stuff. What happens to your body? Because I want people to see the level. And the reason I'm showing all this, I'm going to remove it now. But the reason I was showing all these pictures, not only because it's so exciting, right? And you hear Fagel in the background. She wants to come up. So
yeah, I'm hearing that. She's going to keep hollering until you bring her on screen. You know that.
Yeah, I know. Andrew's on it. He's working it. So, she's so excited. She's quivering. Andrew says. Okay. She's Auntie Laura.
Hi, Fagel.
Hi, Auntie Naima.
Hi.
She's like, I just gotta be in the show.
Always, right? Center of attention.
Mm-hmm. Sister Laura, just saying that's me. So, but here's the thing. The reason, just hold on. You'll be your turn in a minute, okay? Please. Thank you. The reason. Okay, so what is it that you first? So we're just going to talk to her first. So she wants to say hello to you, Laura, and hello to you, Naima.
Hey,
you're telling your story, and she can't wait. She says she can't. Okay, she can't wait until you talk about your dad. But we're going to talk about Laura first, and then we're going to talk about her dad, George. Okay, you want to hang on for the ride? All right. Thank you. All right. But we're going to do the quiet side right now. Okay, honey? Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, so, all righty then. So, please. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm going to grab the beak. Grabbing the beak. Like that stops the noise from coming out.
Right.
Okay, so the reason I wanted everyone to see those pictures was not only because they're just so fabulous, but you do all these things in spite of the things that it did to your body. You found holistic ways to let the body heal itself. Oh, thank God. Yeah, that was smart. Got a smart husband. So, found holistic ways to let the body heal itself. And as we're going to discuss later, not only you did it by touch, but then, ow, do you want this or not? Okay. But then you did it energetically, you know. Now, I'm an energy healer, and I clear energy, but you did this like using your scientific training.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, little bit of background going back again is my mom used to do acupressure on us when we were young. So if we would get sick, she would use acupressure on us. So she, like we would get sick, she'd hold points on us all the time. So I was kind of introduced to it at a young age. So had that little bit of background on it. When I was competing, it did take a toll on you. You were sore a lot. You took falls, like I said, there was a lot of whiplash, injuries, sometimes shoulder, back, knees. And so when I was down in Florida competing, I would go for acupuncture and massage and chiropractic. Those were the things I knew of back then. And then as it got further along, I was always looking for what else is there to help me. So I did have 2 ACL surgeries.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I've had ACL surgery on both knees. So
what is ACL surgery?
What was that?
Anti-cruciate ligament.
The anterior cruciate ligament. Yep. And
correct me if I'm wrong, it's behind the knee, but the surgery they go in the top because that's where I had mine too.
Yeah, so they go from the front side, like below, and they go in because it's the anterior. Excuse me?
It goes into where your kneecap is, or
under the kneecap, basically. So the ligament, I fully ruptured my ligament. So a lot of times, people will get a partial tear, but mine was a complete tear. It's fairly common in the industry that in the wakeboard industry. There's a lot of people that walk around with knee braces on and stuff. So, so I had my first.
Jeebies, you scared Naima.
I know, I'm feeling that.
On your face.
So first surgery, I think it was in, I want to say, it might have been end of 2005. I want to say somewhere around there when I had ACL surgery, and it might have even been a little, right around there probably. And so, I went through the surgery, went through rehab. I was back competing. I was back competing. I was on the water at 5 months, which was pretty impressive. And then, and back competing at 7 months. So, that was, it's a journey to get through that and everything. But then, after I was finished competing, I was still wakeboarding, and I was doing it for fun, and, like I would do some exhibitions and do some local stuff, but I wasn't competing anymore. And then I ruptured my other one, which was kind of a bummer. But through this whole process, like I would have, I'd have back pain or shoulder pain or neck pain and knee pain. And so I still wanted to do all the things that I love to do. I was looking at other sports and doing other things, the water skiing and the surfing. And I started golfing and snowboarding and doing all that. But, it's like I would have pain. So it was kind of my search to find how do I fix myself? How do I make myself feel better without painkillers or going under the knife? Because painkillers were never my thing. I never really wanted to go down that path. So, like I said, I was into doing the massage and the chiropractic and stuff like that. I had Ralphing done. And then when I started working, after I stopped competing, I have a 4-year degree in exercise science. So I was like, okay, well, let's give the personal training path a try. So I started applying for jobs. I got hired in Deerfield, Illinois, and my boss at the time that hired me, his name was Ryan Croft. He actually, when I came in there, I was like, I want to become a yoga instructor. I was all about like the stretching. And cause I did yoga regularly because I was so tight. I had so much tightness in my body. So if I didn't do it at least once a day, I was miserable. So I had to stretch, like really stretch every day. Well, he's the one that actually introduced me to the muscle activation technique, because we look at the body a little different. Not that stretching's bad or anything like that, but why do we stretch and it keeps tightening back up is what we kind of looked at. And so he was going through, he had MAT specialists that worked underneath him at a different club. So he had known about this technique, and he actually started going through the program himself. So I got to be his guinea pig. I told him I would stop doing yoga for a while and I would be his guinea pig. And so as he was going through the course, he started working on my body. And it was amazing how I felt after I would get off the table. So the philosophy of the muscle activation technique is that the tightness is there because your body's trying to stabilize and protect, because there's a weakness. So there's an underlying weakness. You know, everybody talks about the tightness, but what they don't understand is that there is an underlying weakness. So the body is trying to stabilize the joint. So that's where the tightness comes into play. So if we can identify where the weakness is and get those muscles to fire and communicate with because it's really about the communication of that muscle with the brain. And if we can reconnect that connection between the muscle and the brain, then the tightness will go away on its own. It'll give you that range of motion back without trying to stretch it out, which will give you longer lasting.
I'm going to pause. I'm looking for my bod real quick because I want people to understand the connection to that in the bod. So keep talking and I'll go.
Okay. Sounds good.
It's right here behind the computer. Found it.
No worries.
My brain.
So I was fascinated by it, and it was night and day difference how I would get off the table. So after probably it was a year of him going through and working on me, I decided I was going to go through the program the following year. I'm like, I really enjoy this. I like training people in the gym as well, but this is like, I had pain and discomfort, and I know a lot of people have pain and discomfort. So I was like, this is important. And it was kind of part of my path of like, okay, making myself feel better, but then also being able to help other people with pain and discomfort. So I went through the course. It was a 10-month program. And started, I used my body as like to be able to practice on a little bit. It's not really a self technique, but you make shift when you want to work on yourself. So anyway, my body's just started feeling so much better. One really cool story is, so I had at that point I had ACL surgery on my left knee. It had been 5 years since my ACL surgery, and I was going through the course, and I'm sitting on the table, and the instructor looks at me and he goes, "Has anybody worked on your knee extension?" And I said, no, like specifically straightening my knee, because after the surgery, I had gotten to 0, but they call what women have as hyperextension. You've probably heard that in their knees. So where if you straighten your knee, if you're sitting on the floor and you straighten your knee, my right foot would come about probably a little over an inch off the floor, the heel, right? But my left one was at 0, but the doctor told me he didn't want me to get that range back. Okay. Because he said 0 is fine because women have hyperextension. They're more likely to rupture an ACL again. So that's what he was kind of blaming it on. Well, what I found out was if you don't get back to your natural range is your natural range. I had a lot of pain going up and down stairs with that knee. So went back to the MAT specialist that was, at the club, and I asked him to work on my knee extension. One session, my range motion came back almost even with my other leg. Wow. In one session. So the knee extensors in that leg.
I want to repeat that. One session. We also want to tell you she's not full of it, because I've done it. I did MAT before I met Laura.
So I mean, I'm not saying I had to work on it. Still, there were things that I had to work on, but that knee extension was a huge part of the piece of the puzzle. So we look at the body as a whole. So it's like, even if you're having knee pain, you're not just looking at the knee, you're looking at the hip, you're looking at the foot, you're looking at the back, because everything transfers, so it's all connected. So if your back is off and moving in a funky way, it's going to throw off the way your hips are, vice versa. If your feet are out of tune, every step you take, that's transferring all the way up, because you heard of pronation and supination. in the feet. Pronation and supination doesn't just happen in the feet. That happens throughout the entire body. So when you're pronating,
so not heard of those terms. Can
Can you define?
Yep. Yeah. So
pronation.
So pronation and supination is like, it's what most people refer to pronation as, like, well, you know, when people like, when they overpronate, they think that the arch is like collapsing. Like they say, like your arch is
have to do with the foot. Is that
that's where most people talk about pronation and supination is in the feet. So
I'm trying to see if it's related to pigeon-toed or slew-footed, which is the common term. Turn out.
So I wouldn't say necessarily it has. I mean, it can be related, but if you think about, have you ever heard people talk, like they say that you're an overpronator, where they're saying basically your arch is collapsing, so your knees are diving in.
Flat-footed.
Me. Yeah, there you go, flat-footed. So
basic terms, yeah. Okay, so let's just stick with the second grade term, shall we?
That's right.
Okay, so now let me ask you this question.
Yeah.
When I walk, I'm what they call knock-kneed. So is that?
So they would probably call you an overpronator. So if your knees are diving in, knock-kneed, they would say that you're overpronating. Yes. So
we have to take a commercial every half hour.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do, people, if you're listening to this, we're going to run a couple of commercials. Please come back. Don't leave us now, because we're going to learn about pronation. New word. And then if you are watching this on YouTube, please subscribe to my channel or like Suson Essentials on Facebook. I usually never ask. It's a new year for Jodi. Jodi's going to ask you to subscribe to her channel. Okay. Good stuff. All right. So, commercial. That's what I'm doing. All right. There we go.
The Female Solution Global Radio TV Show invites you to an invigorating conversation with our team of hosts Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Time. Start your week with Monday Morning Mindfulness with Zelda Speaks. Tuesdays, Self-Cell Care with Jodi Suson. Wednesdays, Repairing Broken Families with Naima Latif and co-host Kareem Hamid. Thursdays, Soulful Solutions with Dr. Debbie Green. And Fridays, Health and Wellbeing with Beata. Saturdays, tune in 12 noon to 2 p.m. Central Time. First Saturday, Success Strategies with Jana. Second Saturday, Wendy Williams Esquire on relationships. Third Saturday, Move Around with Deborah. And fourth Saturday, Wisdom with Mama D. Join us Sundays, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Central Time for Soul Purpose Healing with Beata. Call in and comment 515-605-9325. Press 1 to speak to the host and be a part of the solution.
One more. Here we go.
Hi, I'm Jodi Suson with Suson Essentials. I started Suson Essentials in 2015 because of a personal health journey. I was over-medicated and put on 19 different medications. And yes, I reversed all my chronic diseases using plant and energy-based healing. It was amazing. At Suson Essentials, we support both consumers and businesses, and we do that with helping your employees or yourself with a food as medicine mindset. How Suson Essentials supports businesses and consumers is we teach people about a food as medicine mindset. So we support people on how to support their own immune system, how to support their brain health, how to support their emotional well-being. And we do that all with plant and an energy-based healing.
All right, so I'm going to play one other commercial, and I want you all to really listen up on this. This is a new e-commerce site called Quick, and you get paid when you buy something and you like it and you share it. Unlike Amazon, you're going to get paid when that other person buys it. So you're getting paid for your referrals. So we're just going to do that last one, and maybe let me see if I can. It's just one of those days. So I've been up since 3 o'clock this morning. So you get today. I'm just telling you now. There we go. All right.
Welcome to Quick Click, where customers can buy, share, and earn. Meet Sam. Sam owns an e-commerce business that sells athletic shoes and running gear. Sam wants to increase her sales without increasing marketing spend, so she decides to list her products on Quick Click. On Quick Click, her loyal customers can get paid for sharing her products with their friends. Sam uploads her products to the marketplace, just like she would on Amazon or Shopify. Meet Laura. Laura is in the market for a new pair of shoes and comes across Sam's brand on the Quick Click marketplace. Laura is able to purchase the shoes and check out like she would on any other e-commerce site. After purchasing, Laura receives a unique Quick Link that she can share with friends to begin earning Quick Cash. Her friend Jessica opens Laura's Quick Link on her phone and purchases the pair of shoes. Because Jessica purchases using Laura's Quick Link, Laura receives Quick Cash in her account. After purchasing, Jessica can now share her own Quick Link and begin earning Quick Cash as well. But Quick Click is more than just your typical referral or affiliate platform. Quick Click rewards customers for sales they directly and indirectly influence. So, for every sale Jessica's new Quick Link makes, Laura will earn additional Quick Cash as well, making the potential for earning exponential. Laura and Jessica can transfer their Quick Cash balance to their bank account at any time, or can even use Quick Cash to make additional purchases in the app. Meanwhile, Sam can just watch as the sales roll in. Best of all, she doesn't have to worry about costs, since she is only spending marketing dollars when actual purchases are made. Start buying, sharing, and earning today at quickclick.com.
All right, we are back. So this last commercial about Quick, I'll just say it's in beta test. If you have products and you want to bring it onto the platform, we are in 80 different countries, 33 different patents, including a patent specifically for the payment system. So like how you get paid, not the merchant processing. So this is really cool. If you have questions, give me a call, which I'll display my number on the screen. But right now, if you have a question for Laura as we go through this, call 515-605-9325. Is that right? Yeah, 9325. Press 1 to speak, and a little hand will go up on my dashboard. And we check that as often as we can. And so if you're calling in now and you're on hold, just press 1 if you have a question for Laura, or myself, or for Naima. And okay, so Laura, back to being
pronation and supination. Okay, so really what I was getting at is, so pronation, most people talk about pronation and supination in the feet. Okay, so pronation is when the foot, everybody pronates and supinates. It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. That's what our body needs to do. Some people will refer to as you're a pronator or you overpronate. So they're saying that your foot drops in too much, like think about the arches, that it drops down to the floor too much, and that would cause like your knees to dive in. Okay. So what I'm saying is the feet, you have to think about that pronation and supination. It actually goes all the way up through. So as you pronate, your knee dives in, your hip turns out, and it tracks all the way up to your neck. Okay. So everything is connected really at the end of the day. So if something's off in your foot, it will affect your knee, it'll affect your hip, it'll affect your back, it'll affect your shoulder. It affects everything up the chain. So that's really, at the end of the day, is what I'm trying to get at. The pronation, supination, great if you know what the terms mean. If you don't, not a big deal. Just know that everything is from the toe all the way up to the top of the head is affected. It affects each other. So when one thing's not moving, for instance, if you are limited in range of motion anywhere in the body, your body has to find another place to pick that motion up.
That's right. Yeah,
So I have
that's
another
exactly
question.
right. So, most people, because I don't really talk about this, don't know. I was a gymnast for I don't know, like 10 years. And so I understand exactly what Laura's talking about in terms of the compensation. So if your body's not happy with or can't, you know, if your shoulder's not working, you know, actually, so I have two torn rotator cuffs. Technically, they've healed through using frankincense, MAT, chiropractic, acupuncture, healthy foods. But the point is that I really had just one torn rotator cuff and then tore the other one because I was overcompensating. Right? Because the other one had to work twice as hard, 3 times as hard, probably, to you know, achieve what I needed to achieve at the time. So like that.
Well, I have a question, because my chiropractor told me that because I tend to carry a heavy bag on one shoulder. Now my spine is crooked, or my, you know, I don't know if it might be in my hips, but you know, I'm walking crooked. So what happens over time if you've got that situation where you...
So definitely, like, the longer you have a compensation going on, you know, it takes a little longer to fully correct that. Not that you won't see any changes or results in one session. That's the cool thing about MET, is you will see the change, but it is trying to, you kind of have to reprogram those muscles to fire and connect. You're basically trying to raise the tolerance of all those muscles. So it's kind of almost reprogramming them. You know, you're raising what kind of force those muscles can handle. But yeah, like I said, it's all connected. So like, even if it's that shoulder, we'd look at your back, we'd look at your shoulder, we'd look at your hips and see how that was balanced out. You know, so because you got to look at all the pieces of the puzzle, because it's never usually just one thing. And everybody asks, well, what comes first? Well, that's really tough to say. It's really like layers of the onion you're peeling. You know, you got to figure out where okay, so this is a piece of the puzzle, and then maybe the back is also a piece of the puzzle, and you know. But it's like, if I'm looking at the shoulder, I'm usually looking at the back and the neck as well. You know, so you got to look at kind of the whole picture.
Whole thing, because I suffer with lower back pain, and every now and then I'll maybe move furniture or something, it'll totally throw my back out. And back to the chiropractor treatment, but you know, there's probably something that, I think he said maybe a disc was slightly out of place, so maybe
it's called the subluxation of the disc.
So yeah, so chiropractic is great too. And it, you know, but what's awesome is the MAT actually works with chiropractic too, because they're adjusting the muscle or the bones back in. And then if the muscles aren't firing, it's going to keep pulling it back out. So if you get that adjustment and then you come in and you have the MAT done, we can get the muscles to fire to help hold that adjustment. If that makes sense. So it kind of can work hand in hand with chiropractic. I see chiropractors. There's different techniques that I use. So I definitely have had adjustments as well. And along with the MAT, sometimes the MAT works. Sometimes I need the adjustment as well. It depends, I guess, on, you know, like how out the adjustment is and stuff like that. So it works in combination for sure. You know, a lot of people will ask, well, how long? It depends on the injury. I always tell people, come see me once a week until we get your, whatever it is, your ailment under control, and then see me for maintenance after that, because you're going to keep using your body. You're going to keep using your body. You're going to have things. And why wait until it breaks down again and then you're in pain and then you have to do this cycle all over again? Instead, come see me for maintenance, at least, like I tell them, you know, every 3 to 6 weeks, depending on what their activity level is and how their body responds. I said, everybody, you're going to know your body the best. You figure out what is the best maintenance schedule for you, you know, and then you come in that regularly to keep that tune up. I have some people that come every 2 weeks. I have some people that come once a month, you know, so I have people that come every week. So it just depends on, you know, like, you know, it depends on their financials. It depends on their body. It depends on their activity level. It depends on a lot of things. So, you know, I kind of tell people
how MAT works with the brain. Right. Like, because you know, go ahead. I mean, because that's why you and I met, because Andrew, my husband, you were talking to him and about what you do, and you wanted to learn about the bod. And when I understood really how MAT worked with the brain, that's when we realized how well it would work with the bod.
Right. So MAT is, so I'm going to get a little sciencey here again. So we'll
stop you if we don't get it.
So there are different muscles, or there's different fibers in a, like you've got your intrafusal and extrafusal muscle fibers. Okay, think of the extrafusal are the ones that move. They're the muscles that the fibers that move the arm. Okay, the intrafusal are the fibers that communicate with the brain. Okay, intrafusal. Interfusal fibers of the muscle.
Interfusal fibers of the muscle that communicate with the brain. Okay.
Correct. Okay. So those are the fibers that we're working with. We're working at reconnecting those fibers so that they're communicating with the brain properly. Because if your muscle isn't giving, if you guys aren't communicating, the muscle's not getting the signal, that's where the delay comes in. And that's where then the compensation comes in. Okay. So if you're not getting, if you go to move and that muscle fiber is taking, there's a delay for it to get the signal, then it has to pull something else in to do the work. So we're basically, we're trying to reconnect that signal from the muscle, and it goes into all neurofeedback loops and all this stuff that even sometimes I get a little confused with, but there's like a whole feedback loop that happens between the muscle and the brain. So it's basically that nervous system like communicating, and it happens in a split second, but we're trying to basically eliminate as much of that lack of communication as possible throughout the muscles. And so the more that you can get those muscles communicating and firing properly and getting that signal from the brain, the less compensation your body will have, the more range of motion, the more efficient it will work. So it's also phenomenal for athletes. Like, even if you don't have a major issue, just as like people that are high level athletes, it will keep your muscles firing and to keep you at optimal performance. So that's really cool too. So you don't have to have an injury.
So I'm going to pipe in here real quick, because if the brain is, if there's some sort of interference between the interfusal muscle and the brain, right? Mm-hmm. We then brought in the bod. Okay, don't chew on the bod, Fagala. The sound frequency, and you can wear this while Laura's working on you, okay? And it does a reset on the neural network of the brain. So think about the part that's not firing, because it recognizes, your body recognizes that there's an interference. And the sound frequency, which is based in drumming, we know that drumming heals the brain, puts it in the theta state, and does a reset on the neural network. The number one healing actually for 2022 is sound frequency.
So I have a question then, because like a couple of years ago, my knees stopped working. They wouldn't bend all the way. I don't know what happened. It's just suddenly they just stopped working. And so they've only been like halfway. And, and I'm doing all these exercises and everything and going through all this pain, trying to, make them bend in the range they used to. So is it possibly a neurological signal that needs to be reestablished as opposed to going through
it could be.
Kind of stretch?
It definitely could be. Have you gone to a doctor to have them look at it all, or no? Have you?
No, I hadn't. I just assumed, okay, maybe I'm not exercising enough. Right?
And that very well could be, like if you're not doing enough movement and everything, movement is very important to keep the joints lubricated and everything else. So like if you're not doing enough movement, that can definitely cause some of it. There are other things that can cause restriction as well, whether it's, like some people start to get arthritis. There's, some of that could be a nutritional thing that might be able to help and all that. I know. And but I'm not saying that it still can't help. It can increase motion for sure. That is definitely a possibility. And that's one thing I like to look at and analyze. And usually with the MAT, if it's not a structural thing, I will see the range of motion improve fairly quickly. Or you'll see some improvement. If it is a structural, because structure can change, there's people that get bone spurs or, bone buildup or whatever. There are structural changes that can happen that can cause limitation. So the MAT really does work with it if it's a muscular limitation. But like I said, you can tell pretty quickly if it's going to help increase that range or not, so is it?
Let me share a couple stories though about MAT. One with you, one with someone else. Okay. So, my personal health journey, over medicated, I was misdiagnosed having bipolar and schizophrenia, but it happened after I fell on the ice at work, and I tore my rotator cuff, and no one ever did a MRI or any scan or anything. And so that's how I tore my right rotator cuff, and then overcompensating for the left one. And from that experience also ruined at that time, not completely because it's back, my levator scapula. The levator scapula runs, through the head, underneath the, underneath the shoulder blade, right, Laura? Through the neck.
It's from the top of the shoulder blade up into the side of the neck.
Yeah, side of the neck. Wow. Well, the pain went up to the top of the head.
Well, that's your traps and stuff. And usually, like I said, it's usually not, a lot of times it's more than just one muscle. So like that was probably a big part of the issue, the levator, but there's probably were a handful of other things that were contributing to that as well.
For sure. But what I want to say is that I walked around with that for 20 years. I couldn't use a hair dryer. I didn't blow dry my hair for that time because I wasn't strong enough to lift a hair dryer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So needless to say, I don't even own one. So and this is how it wakes up. So here's this. Ow, that's hurting me. Okay. So what happened was I used MAT and I used the bod while that friend of mine was doing MAT, and I haven't had a pain in my levator scapular, that area, since 2017. We're in 2022. So now I also want to tell you, going now to Laura, like Laura's magic is even bigger than that. And that's because, so for instance, when I was during the move, Laura came to our house with her table and worked on both me and my husband, Andrew.
Good.
And, I don't want to say like in seconds, but it feels like in seconds. Because if you're dealing with pain for a long time and you can get rid of it, get the release, you're getting the release of the muscle, like, after a session, we're talking about an hour, right? And don't get me wrong, sometimes there's discomfort while you're doing it. I screamed at her, punched her a little bit. Just leave the nose alone. She's got a cute nose. So don't hit her nose. So you think that's funny. So the point is that, you can get relief and get balance, and then the rest of the body, that's not where it stops, right? Because then the rest of the body can start rejuvenating and healing. That's just the beginning, right? Because if everything's wiring and firing together, could you let go of my glasses, please? So if everything's wiring and firing together, now the body has the ability to do what it does best, which is an innate healing machine. It's a master healing machine. We just have to, my goal, this is where Laura and I are exactly alike, okay? She removes interferences. I remove interferences. She does it one way. She does one part of the body from one angle. I do it from another. I do it with toxins. I do it with energy healing.
And they all play a huge role. So that's the other thing too, is you have to understand, like, there are multiple pieces of the puzzle. So like I might be getting through that muscular part, but the nutritional part, if you don't have the nutrients that your body needs, it's not gonna fully heal, So you need that component. You need the emotional component. It all plays a role. You hold on to negative emotions or past events that had happened to you. You hold on to that. That's going to keep coming back to haunt you.
That's why I'm trying to really look at all the parts of my body that are creating feelings of discomfort and think of all the different ways that you've just said about healing. because you get the conventional thought where people say, oh, just, take some aspirin and the pain will go away. But I don't want to do that. I'm not going to medicate the pain away for a few hours and have to take some more pills.
No, because then that just creates more problems down the road.
Yes.
Like you keep taking, Aleve or ibuprofen, and what that's doing to your organs is, it's
everything.
It's that constant. So when you're on medications constantly, I mean, you can fix anything. Like nature's put everything out there for us. Like nature, like nature has all the remedies that we need. It really does, Yeah.
And so if you're taking ibuprofen, if you're taking any type of synthetic over-the-counter medication and you want to learn more, call me, call Laura. We have, what the substitutes are in nature. If you're on and that's for over-the-counter medication, or that, ow, stop it. Okay. Got her a little attention, a little blue. All right. And she likes that. Okay, whatever. So, if you have a headache, you can use frankincense, or you can use peppermint, or you can use lavender. So if you say, oh, I don't like the smell of lavender, we've got probably 10 different other plants for you. Here you go.
So peppermint, if you were going to use peppermint to get rid of pain, would that be something you would inhale, or because I wouldn't think peppermint candy would necessarily have
this? That's an awesome question. So first of all, when you inhale an oil, and by the way, you're not getting your oils at the drugstore or any big box store, okay? Because you don't know how most of the time, they're not sourced properly. The plants aren't sourced properly, or you get the plant. Let's say it is a good plant. It's organic, but they use chemicals for chemical extraction. You don't want that either. So call us, because you don't want to go down the path and go, this doesn't work, because it's not that simple. It's actually really simple once you know how, but it's not simple until somebody tells you. And we're not discussing that today on the show, but call us, okay? And if you have a question, call into the show. But the point being is, to answer your question, you apply it topically to the palm of your hand. You rub both your hands together and you inhale. And because it gets into the brain, into the limbic system in 20 seconds, you will get relief.
Wow.
Okay. And it gets into the bloodstream in 30 seconds.
Wow.
30 seconds, people.
That's faster than the drugs. Yeah.
Absolutely. And your body doesn't actually recognize drugs. They don't recognize synthetics. And so then it gets stored in your fat cells. Okay. And then it manifests down the road as disease of some sort based on your genetic disposition, genetic profile. I got a text message yesterday from Kwame Sunhorse, and who's I met him through you, right? So great man. And the text that he said, and we're gonna go back because I just thought it was a great question. So Andrew and I both studied science-based nutrition, okay? And the question that he asked was, does our lifestyle matter more than our hereditary or genes, basically? And the answer
I would say so.
Our lifestyle is number one as to whether or not these recessive genes get expressed. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. You can live your entire life, have all the genes for Alzheimer's, the APOE4 gene, and never have Alzheimer's expressed if you're eating based upon, what's called science-based nutrition. And it's not that hard to figure out. It sounds complicated because it's got the word science in it, but trust me, it's so easy.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. You can have a trait for something, but if you don't trigger it, then it'll never manifest. And I know people who had whole families that may have gotten cancer, but then everybody in the family smoked. So the person who doesn't smoke and doesn't raise their children around smoke or have smoking in their environment, they're not going to have that happen to them because they're not doing the thing that triggers it.
Right.
Well, exactly. And there was something I was going to mention about that. Oh, yeah. So I have a close family friend. I've known her since I was 11. And she's now of the age where her mom died, of a heart attack. And so she's convinced that this will happen to her. And I explained to her, and I've been explaining to her, that doesn't have to be your outcome, right? Yeah. First of all, there's mindset. So this is actually a perfect segue, right, Laura, for what we're about to talk about?
Yeah.
So one, there's mindset. And we're going to talk about how the mind is so powerful. We do need to go to commercials, so I'm going to run a couple commercials, but I want to just tell you what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about how powerful your mind is, okay? And so we already know about nutrition. So we talked about that a little bit. We touched on it, and that genes won't be expressed. And just because you have a history of it doesn't mean that you're going to get it. But Laura and I are going to talk about mindset.
That's correct.
Well, it got her dad out of the hospital. It changed his vitals while we were working on him energetically in the hospital.
Wow.
So if you're listening, I know we have some people listening in who's watching. I've got my Facebook going here just so I can see who's watching live. If you have a health condition, Laura and I are going to talk to you about mindset and how you can actually shift your entire health condition with mindset.
Change your mind.
Change your mind, change your life.
Ooh, all right.
Okay, so I'm going to run to commercial real quick. I'm going to run two that I'm going to run. One, so Naima's on tomorrow. What's your title of your show tomorrow, Naima?
Well, tomorrow we're going to be talking about my co-host and I, Kareem Hamid. We're going to be talking about someone who actually they passed legislation to have a commemoration of his birthday on January 17th, which is Muhammad Ali, the boxer that everyone loved and has seen the impact of his anti-war stance and his global impact, even the sport of boxing, but as a humanitarian, and what his life actually meant in terms of changing a mindset about a global condition.
Dance like fly like a butterfly, or dance like
float like a butterfly, sting like a bee.
Like a butterfly, dance like a bee. So he was his very favorite athlete. There wasn't a time that we didn't watch him.
Yeah.
I followed his life. He's amazing. So that's exciting. So I'm going to play your commercial. So tune in tomorrow morning. If you're on Central Time, it's 7:00 Eastern Time, 8:00. The rest of you guys have to figure it out. Okay, so as far as like the time.
Hi, I'm Naima Latif. Join me and my co-host Kareem Hamid every Wednesday morning, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. on the Female Solution Radio Show, as we explore that relationship that is the foundation for our society, the relationship between men and women, husbands and wives. Join our discussion as we seek to repair broken family ties and rebuild our community. Listen online at www.blogtalkradio.com/the-female-solution. Call in and comment 515-605-9325. Press 1 to speak to our host. Or you can join us live on Facebook at www.facebook.com/the-female-solution.
And then for those of you, it's not till next Monday, but we have Zelda. Zelda Speaks, her Monday show.
Is Monday morning a struggle to get out of bed into the swing of things? Well, don't worry, you are not alone. Join us for thought-provoking, stimulating, and mindful conversations on higher learning, with Zelda Speaks for your Monday morning mindfulness session on Blog Talk Radio, The Female Solution, Mondays, 7:30 until 9 a.m. Be sure and send your ideas, thoughts, comments, and suggestions. Also, if you'd like to be a guest on the show, visit ZeldaSpeaks.com and send us your info. We'd love to have you. Experience mindfulness moments with the mindfulness/stress relief coach, Zelda Speaks. And thanks for sharing the mindfulness moment tip of the day. Stay on purpose, stay empowered, and stay tuned to your next session of mindfulness on Higher Learning with Zelda Speaks. Make it a mindful day. And thanks for listening.
With a simple blood test and food plan, Suson Essentials will help your business, your family, and you eliminate toxins and create a step-by-step plan to nourish your mind, body, and spirit. Click here to learn more.
Jodi Suson of Suson Essentials is certified by the #1 functional medicine doctor on plant-based healing essential oils, which are revolutionizing the way we manage our well-being. Schedule today to take control of your health.
Trying to see some of that food you had up there. What did she cook? I was looking at some of that food you had laid out there on the table.
Well, let's see what we got here. So
Suson Essentials is re-engineering what health looks like by leading you to the best wellness initiatives in the world. Start your coaching plan today and create a new paradigm of health. Click here to learn more.
So it's interesting. So I have a longer commercial. It's probably 60 seconds. And because all those foods are on the table, it wasn't intentional. We were filming, and the idea was to give people an idea about what all these healthy foods look like, some of the brands. Wasn't even thinking marketing. I wanted to add value. That thing went viral.
Yes.
10,000 views.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay, thank you. And it's because it's really simple. It's because somebody caught it and saw that all the other labels were there.
Oh yeah. So that we'll make sure we create some ways to benefit from that. But those are really some great pieces though, and I think that people, when they start to think in terms of food as medicine, then you realize everything you eat, it becomes who you are. I mean, you are what you eat. So if you are putting things that have good vibrations, grown the right way, and, high vibrating foods, then that does help heal your body. And if you're eating garbage, well, you're going to feel it in your body instantly.
People don't even know that they're eating garbage, though. Do you like pancakes?
Yeah, I bet you're going to tell me it's terrible, aren't you?
No, hold on. Laura, do you like pancakes?
I'm more of a waffle person.
Fair enough.
Well, that's just more or less the difference in shape, but I think it's the same thing. Right?
I feel like they're lighter. They're a little fluffier.
Are they? Okay.
I love them both. I'm just not good at making waffles. So here's what I'm going to say. Over the history of time, pancakes, waffles, they've been made with wheat, right? And wheat has been adulterated, meaning, it's got glyphosate sprayed all over it. So it's pulling all the minerals out of your body, making you feel fatigued.
Oh, that's why I get so tired and I have a big stack of pancakes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
However, I make the most amazing pancakes on the planet with cassava flour, which is tapioca starch.
Wow.
And I can make them really thin crepes, or I can make them big and fluffy.
Oh, okay. All right.
Crepes are my favorite.
Yeah. And so my point is that, and so I'm actually going to do a plug for myself for just a quick moment. I teach food as medicine, but I'm not just giving you the science. I'm also telling you how easy it is to convert your current recipes just by some little tweaks, right? So that you can be eating healthy, still have the taste and the delish that you like, right?
Wow.
They're like, oh my God. I mean, you should see the meals we make here. They are so healthy.
Hey, everything is sold on the internet. You can figure out how to package it up and ship it. I'll order some. You can ship it on over here to Chicago.
I am so not doing it, Dolly, but I will give you the recipe. I will give you the recipe. So my blog on Suson Essentials has a lot of my recipes. So, but let's move to mindset. Laura, share about your dad. Talk about what happened. And it's 9:10. So we have to go to commercial at 9:30. And I really want to make sure that we get this story out because it's so critical. So I'm going to manage our time. Okay.
Yep.
So go ahead.
So my dad was in the ICU for 17 days. So yeah, he was, having breathing issues and everything else. And it was severe. It was very severe. It was a lot of up and down. I had faith he was going to make it through, but it was a very rough road. Okay. There were a lot of things. There's a lot of things that played into it, including my sister and I smuggling nutrients and vitamins and nutrients into his food.
Banana cakes. I was teaching Laura about dumping nutrients into whatever it is you got. And so what we do, we put in mushrooms.
Into the mushroom powder into banana bread. So I made banana bread, but we were also getting him, after the banana bread was baked, I was dripping vitamin D onto the banana bread. So we were getting him like 50,000 IUs of vitamin D a day, which he didn't know. Hopefully nobody comes knocks on my doors and arrests me, but we were taking him.
The hospital and he's healthy, so
yes. So we were.
What we will be doing, Laura, is knocking down our door for help.
Yeah. So we had little juice shots that we were taking in that had zinc and quercetin in it. So he was getting zinc and quercetin every day. So anyway, despite that, there was also, a big part of it is you have to want to get out of there. That was a big part of it. So in the beginning, we started to see some things getting better. I did, so I do some craniosacral work as well. And craniosacral therapy works with, the whole nervous system and like the healing of the nervous system. And there's a lot to that. So I, first of all, started doing, I was obviously praying a lot through this whole thing, but I was also trying to direct the energy to him and actually visualizing doing the cranial work on his body. So I did like a whole session and I would let him know that hey Dad, I worked on you or this and that, so we were able to talk to him. He had his phone in there, but nobody was able to go in, and actually my sister was able to go in and see him at the window. That was the closest that she could get to him, once a day. But, as he started to improve and everything, and he was able to start moving around and doing more, we also got, we took an infrared light in there. So we had infrared light that my sister took in, and he was doing infrared light therapy on himself. Oh. Yeah. So there were a lot of things that he would have that on his chest for like hours of the day, as he was, starting to move. So we just kind of took these initiatives upon us to try to get him out of there and give the added, because he was on oxygen, he was, on high levels of oxygen. And then as he was slowly converting over, he was getting closer to being out of there. And let me actually take a step back. Before that, Jodi was kind of teaching me how to go into my dad's energy field. And she did it at one point, but she also taught me how to do it. And like basically speaking to him on an energetic level. And, Jodi actually spoke to him, and basically, she said that he has made the decision that he's gonna stick around and he's gonna fight. And it was actually shortly after that we had seen him take a turn for the better. Okay, so he started moving in the right direction. So fast forwarding.
Let me pipe in just.
Yep. Sorry, this is a tough story. It's a very emotional story for me to tell as well.
I'm going to let you take a breath so you can, because I understand. I get it. So, and I want to talk what happened to me. So first, I was doing a lot of the energy work on her dad. Mm-hmm. And I got wiped out.
And Laura called me and she knew how much. I said, Laura, I can't, honey. I said, I can't do it anymore. I'm exhausted. And so this was a learning for both Laura and I. And the lesson was to us, you can't want health for someone more.
They want it for themselves.
They want it for themselves.
Yeah.
That's because I was wiped out. Because what was happening, I'm going in trying to help, and his energy is pushing me away, right? Pushing me away because he doesn't want this.
So had he been kind of conditioned of the mindset of, oh, well, these are my final days. I mean,
this is my fate. Actually, the bigger one was, I think I'm not lovable. I'm not worthy. And so, evidenced by the fact that he did permission, Laura, to speak.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Evidence. We have George's permission to speak.
Yeah, I talked to my dad. He said my dad told me that we have permission because he thinks it's a miracle anyway. So.
Yeah. So he didn't feel lovable, and so my energy's coming in, and he's blind. I'm getting wiped out, and I'm exhausted on the point of tears. And so I'm like, Laura, I can't do it. I can't. And I didn't know why, because like I'm always a student. And so then when I finally was able to get sleep and let my body rejuvenate, I said to Laura, I said, he's got to want this. He's really got to want this. And he's got to want it more than we want for him. And so then I went in and I started asking him questions. I said, George, do you want to live? He said, yeah. I said, do you know that you have to be responsible for your life when you want to live? We can't do it for you. Okay, he gets it. And there was a series of questions that I asked him energetically for him to understand that he had this. It was his choice in the matter. He can have life. He can have love. He could have health. He just had to want it bad enough to make the changes. And then as this is happening, it shifts. The numbers, the vitals are changing.
Yeah, he definitely shifted. That was probably the first shift that he took. And then as it kind of kept going and he was getting better, he was making improvements, I felt like he hit a wall again, and we thought he was going to be getting out soon of ICU. And it was just like, I was driving home and I actually called my dad. And I was like, I'm talking to him and I just go, all of a sudden it just like came to him. I'm like, Dad, what are you afraid of? Like, I literally asked him this question. I'm like, what are you afraid of? Because it was like he had kind of hit this wall, and I just got this feeling like he was afraid to leave there. And crazy story, I pull into my garage. I'm on the phone with my dad, and I see a text message come in from Jodi. And she goes, Laura, go into your dad's energy field and ask him what he's afraid of. Like, I literally get this text message as I'm on the phone with my dad asking him what he's afraid of. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. So my dad, the nurses came in and he's like, hey, I got to go. I'll call you back. So he hung up. I called Jodi. I go, you're not going to believe that text message you just sent me. I was just on the phone with my dad asking him what he was afraid of. And she starts laughing. I mean, we can laugh at this point because like, oh my gosh, right? So I'm talking to Jodi about it. She's like, it's amazing. And my dad starts calling back and Jodi's like, hey, can you merge us in on the calls? And I'm like, absolutely. So I answer my dad. I'm like, Dad, hey, Jodi wants to talk to you on the phone. I'm going to merge us in. He's like, okay. So Jodi gets on and Jodi starts talking to my dad. And at this point, like now we are actually having Jodi has my dad do the grounding work. And she said, we'll hold energy. And she tells him that he needs to take responsibility. He needs to use his words and ask for help. So she walked him through grounding himself, thinking like as if he's there's roots growing out of his feet like a tree, and then pulling up into heaven and everything. And she walked him through this, and he did this for himself. Like he visualized, he did this for himself, like something that I would never see my dad doing necessarily. that was the turning point. He got out of ICU, I want to say 2 days later, a day or two later. But that after that conversation, the rest of the day, my dad kept thanking me. He kept thanking me for that it really helped him so much. And he said he continued to do that throughout the day. He did it again and again. He kept rooting and grounding and asking for the help, the guidance, the strength to get through, all of that. So that was a huge turning point. I can't even tell you how many times he thanked me that day. So then later that day after I got off, I'm like, there's something missing. So he was having some AFib as well. So there was the oxygen issue. And then he was having some AFib with his heart. And I just it was later in the day, so I didn't talk to him that night. But I'm like, I need to talk to him. My dad would never say, I love you to us on the phone. He would say, yeah, me too. Like those were the words he would use. He would never say, I love you. And so then the next morning, I remember we were talking and trying to see, they still had him in ICU. And I talked to him, he called me in the morning. I was talking to my sister about that whole thing. And my dad calls and I was like, are your ears ringing? I'm like, okay. So Dad, I need to talk to you about something. I'm like, your AFib. I'm like, we need to I go, you never say I love you to us, not to my mom, not to any of us. I know it's because you think that people just throw those words around. I said, obviously we love you. Everything that we've been doing for you, everything that, through this whole thing, we love you. You love us. We know. I'm like, you need to. And he's like, yeah, well, this and that. And he's making excuses. And then by the end, I'm like, you have to come to grips with this, Dad. I'm like, I think this is part of the AFib that you're having. You have to accept this. So he finally, by the end of that conversation, he got it. He totally understood it. I'm like, Dad, whatever it is, whatever it goes back to, I don't know if it goes back to your parents. I don't know if it goes back to whatever. But so he accepted. And actually, that was the first time he said, I love you. And after that, he now says it all the time. So he kind of had a breakthrough there. He got out of the hospital the next day.
Wow.
And not only out of ICU, he came home. Wow. So he went from ICU home. So it was amazing. He is now just over Sunday was 2 weeks out. Yesterday he was walking around the house off of oxygen for the first time, for most of the day. He's still monitoring and he would have to put it on every once in a while, but he's exercising. He's doing amazing. He's down at my sister's in Tennessee now, just kind of recovering because it's an easier house and the weather's better than up in Wisconsin. They'll go down to Florida as well after this, but we couldn't keep him up in Wisconsin just because the weather and trying to get him to doctors, and their house was not ideal for that. So we got him, he got out of ICU on Sunday. We got him in the car with an oxygen tank and drove him to Tennessee, to Nashville, Tennessee on Monday. So literally the next day we loaded up the car and got them out of there. So he's doing amazing. Since then, he's still been working on all the rooting and everything. He's told me stories about how, the amount of awakening, has been a huge spiritual awakening for him. He told me the other day about how when he laid back down after going to the bathroom in the morning, he laid back down and he saw his dad and my two aunts. And Jodi, I don't even know if I told you this story, but he saw them. They were surrounded by a light. He actually basically told them that he had a conversation with my grandpa. Wow. My dad has all these tools of my grandpa's in the garage. My grandpa did construction and all of that. And he basically told my grandpa that it was time for him to move on. He said, thank you for everything you taught me. I've passed it on to my son because my brother also does construction and building and all of that. And he goes, but it's time. I need to get rid of all the tools and everything else. So he said thank you to him and said, it's time for me to move on, for things. So it's just amazing, the things that and where he's come through this whole thing. And I think the inner strength that it's given him. And that's why he's coming through this.
Bring people back though to towards the beginning before he was in the hospital. So Laura and I and Laura's mom Anne, we were all and her sister Maria, we're all working, around the clock to help him. And how let me just back up. How I became an energy healer is because it chose me. Right? So I wake up in the second grade and say, "Oh, I want to grow up and be an energy healer." So, Andrew and I, when we came together, we were being spiritually attacked. We had to figure out how to ward off that. We were being spiritually attacked because both of us are healers. And I think that the dark side knows that we're really here to help humanity, and they're not interested in us doing that. Right.
So I have a question. Energetically, then, why do the words "I love you" create a different energy that is healing to a person who may have been too repressed emotionally to say it? What is
so
it about?
we're gonna talk. Let's talk about that, and we'll bring that right back. What's the power behind the words "I love you" and the attach? Okay, we'll get right to that. So what happened is that I was able with Andrew to ascertain who of his ancestors was energetically attacking him. So then I learned through that, passed that on to Laura and her father and their family, because what happened was George's father was coming in and he wanted George up with him. And so he's like interfering, right? So what do Laura and I do? We remove interferences. And George's father was interfering with his health. And so I also
think that was a big part of my dad holding, having those ties and not being able to let go as well. I think it was a combination for sure. And I do agree with you that, yeah.
Maybe he should be with his father instead of still, living out his time here,
right.
kind of divided. Because that happens a lot of times when someone close to you passes on, and you're still tied to them energetically, which is why a lot of times when couples, one will go and then the other one will follow. And so unless you, like you've shown, unless you make the decision, no, I'm going to stay here, it's very easy to start transitioning or your body starts shutting down as if you're ready to transition, unless you energetically make the decision that you're going to stay.
And Vieta says, beautiful process of awakening to love. Now fly. First love yourself. Totally agree, Vieta. Thank you for that. And then Naima, I want to go to your question about the power between I love you, and I got a download just as I completed the story about George and his dad. Laura, I believe George learned from your grandfather, his dad, the behavior of not saying I love you. And your dad has so much love. It's amazing. And so he was repressed.
That's a real common man thing, isn't it?
Well, those generations, it certainly was.
I'll give you a little more story to that. When my dad, actually the day he got out of the hospital, because I didn't know where it went back to, but actually when he had me one-on-one at one point, he told me, he goes, I don't want you to take this personally or anything, but it went back to when I broke up with an ex of mine that I had dated for like 7 years. And he said he remembers laying on the couch and thinking, well, I guess those words mean nothing. And it was so interesting. And I told him, I'm like, I'm glad you told me that. And I think that could have been part of it, but there very well could have been, obviously, I think there was stuff that stemmed from Grandpa too, because I could totally see that.
I think that's when he learned to reinforce. So it's a yes and. That's where he learned to reinforce the message from Grandpa, from his mother, because it never starts with someone you meet out here, it always
starts back. And that's where I was at with it too. But I was so glad that he even told me that, because I think that was another thing that, you know, there was issues there, but like the fact that he's even telling me all of this stuff is huge, you know? And I was like, I'm like, thank you for telling me. Like, I'm glad you told me that, you know? And, you know, it's like, he goes, I know that you weren't supposed to be with him and this and that now, but like, it's just, you know, there's emotional baggage that comes along with all of that stuff. You know, it was a tough time. It was a tough time in our relationship at one point. That whole breakup with my ex was tough on my whole family. And there was a lot that happened through that. So the fact that
it was your breakup, not his breakup.
It was my breakup.
But was he attached to that person that you were with? Was that somebody he wanted you to marry and all that?
Yeah.
Oh.
Absolutely. So
I want to tell you, I think, so your father's heart was broken.
Yeah. So, and, you know, so that was all part of it, but it's, you know, I'm glad
to hear that your dad's heart was broken.
Yeah. So.
Wow.
Yeah, I get that.
So it was amazing though, that because he had so much time to think, and he reflected on so much. And I'm so glad that I told him, I'm like, I'm not at all upset about this. I'm glad that you told me. Like, you know, I mean, I go, trust me, there was a lot of learning I had through that whole process. You know, we talked about that. And so it's pretty amazing, like being able to take and learn from all the experiences and learn from, it's amazing how much that stuff can affect your body and hold on to it and create disease and everything else.
Right. And which goes back to mindset, because, well, I'm just going to own this. So I did the 10-year photo, you know, where the before and after. And so the before picture, of course, I was like 234, 235 pounds. And I showed a picture that was just taken maybe 35 days ago. And I looked pretty good. But within that 35 days, I probably gained about 15 pounds.
Oh, wow. More stress?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what I want to explain to you guys, and, you know, like I'm not mad, like that I gained 15 pounds. I'm kind of mad. But, you know... But, you know, I don't usually use this word lightly, actually, ever. I mean, I went through trauma the last, since that picture was taken, I went through trauma. In Naima, you know this, and Laura, you know this, all of our belongings basically were hijacked and were being extorted for money to get it back. And, you know, we're working on finding a less extortionist way to get all of our lifelong belongings back. But
it is emotionally traumatic. Yeah.
It is traumatizing. And it's, you know, at first you're like, well, okay, I don't really need the couch. I don't need this stuff. It's all replaceable. And yeah, it is replaceable. The stuff that my mom made me, the needlepoint, that's not replaceable.
Right.
But here's also what happened. So forget the fits, forget the cost, forget the couch or whatever pictures or whatever. It's really not it. What was it for me? It goes again back to mindset. I was being powered over by some person who I don't even know, who we handed over all of our stuff to. I was being powered over. It shifted my mindset into depression.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so
power over you. Yeah.
People power over you. And so, and I felt helpless for the first time in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to really process. I had to process my mindset, because I always talk about mindset. Well, they gave me a lesson.
Wow, there's a lesson in everything. Well, you know, I got a question. I know you got to take the last break, but when we come back from the break, I want to ask about the whole heartbreak situation. How maybe a breakup or something can affect you so badly physically that you can start manifesting physical ailments and even have something like heart disease affect you because energetically you have a broken heart.
That's a great question. Why don't we run a couple of quick commercials and we'll come back to that. Great question. Just 9:35. So let's see. I'm going to do a Blog Talk one. So Vieta Robinson is on Fridays and Sundays. She's your holistic health coach. And Vieta, if I find her commercial here, it's under promo. Thank you. So she is a wealth of information, and I think that she's.
I found it. I can hit it if you want.
Go ahead. Yeah, she's amazing and she's fierce. Like she's got this.
Hey, it's time to take charge of your health. I'm Beata, your holistic life coach, and every Friday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, I'm here on The Female Solution to empower you to make choices that will assist your evolution to abundant health. I'm also blogging every Sunday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time at Soul Purpose Healing, where I bring you a spiritual chiropractic adjustment to bring you back into alignment with our Creator's love, compassion, and wisdom. Join me every Friday morning at 8 a.m. and Sunday evening at 8 p.m. for a time of unity, enlightenment, and love vibration. Shalom.
So we have a couple callers. We have 847-220 and 31271. We're going to take 847-220 first, and then we're going to take 312-671, and then we're going to come back to Naima's question. So, and I'm cheating here, just so you know. Angie Calhoun, you are on the air.
Good. Thanks for having me on the air. I wanted to, I've been fascinated with learning more about MAT and actually being a recipient of it with Laura. One was in person where she came to our house and she worked on me on her table, like a massage or a chiropractic table would look like. But that was effective for sure. But what was really shocking to me and amazing was when she did that when I'm living in Georgia and she's living in Illinois. She did it exactly. It was amazing because I had this horrible pain. I had come from the gym. I thought I just lifted one weight too many, but it was really more of a nerve pain, energetic pain. And I couldn't move my neck. It hurt incredibly bad. And Jodi said, why don't you just call Laura, see if she can. She's tuning in she's getting better at being able to do remote healing. I said, really? I said, okay, I'll try this. So for sure, I called her up. She worked with me in 15 minutes or so. And then the pain was almost entirely gone. Amazing experience. Laura, can you talk about that a little bit?
So I kind of focus when I do that, I'm looking more from like the cranial sacral side of things, and that working with the nervous system and kind of just directing the energy into that area and it's interesting because when I was working on him, I was getting releases. I could feel the releases happening from his neck, like the shaking, the energetic.
Yeah.
Well, what I would feel, it's like you can feel like almost like a shaking happening, like because like I'll hold that energy around that area. Like I'll visualize that I'm working on that area with the hands, and like it's you can feel the energy releasing out of the tissue. Like it's almost like a shaking that happens in between. So that was it was fascinating. That's
what I get too, by the way. That's what I get too. So when I'm clearing someone's energy, I call it an energy burst, but it is a shaky. And then it almost goes right out of my body, indicating it's going out of their body.
Yeah.
Now, is this a form of Reiki, or is Reiki a form of energy healing?
I mean, it's all one and the same. You can call it what you want, cranial therapy, energy healing, Reiki. I believe it all works in the same way. Like
I do too, and I'm actually getting trained on Reiki just so I can have the verbiage.
Yeah.
It's you're clearing negative energy. You're letting the fluids move through the body properly. You're between energy. Cranial works a lot with the nervous system and moving fluid through the body. But at the end of the day, it's all working with the body. It's
from a distance.
Yeah, it's all intention. A lot of it's intention, as long as it's that intention to heal, and that's what a lot of it is. It is really fascinating. I mean, there's definitely you hear of frequency healing. It's like there's machines that do frequency based healing, and we are machines, we are energy, and we are frequency, right? So if you're sending those frequencies out, yeah, healing. I mean, that's exactly it. There's so many different things out there that can
and there's like there it's almost endless. How many? This is just, I call this one healing for dummies, because you press and go, right? The other bot is also healing for dummies, quite frankly. So many, more sophisticated approaches to frequency healing, but really, it's self-care, right? We want you to go to Laura when you can't do it on your own. We want you to go to the doctor, like a chiropractor, when you can't do it on your own. But there should be less visits, right? So that you should be able to maintain your body. But we just need to teach you how to do that. Go ahead.
One other question, which I probably have asked this before, but you have the mindset of the traditional medical industry, which is chemically based. What chemicals can we give your body to change the symptoms of your illness? And then there's the energy healing way of thinking, understanding we're all energy. If we can change the energy, we can work with your thought, your intention, and get to the root cause of why your body is physically manifesting the energy of your spirit, so to speak. Is there a way that those two can ever come together, or that if the medical industry can ever understand and begin to teach that healing starts with the energy body? How, in your opinion, how long will it take for the traditional medical industry that is based on finding a chemical to address the chemical change in your body? How long will it take for that industry to catch up to the understanding?
Well, I think it's already happening.
I think we're shifting.
What?
I think we're shifting.
Yeah. So I want to tell you that when I was started my healing journey in 2013, my doctor was getting out of the industry. She decided yoga was more powerful than that medication. She saw what it did to my body. She was an MD.
My dad is down in Tennessee right now. My sister has a concierge doctor, so he only takes cash. He doesn't take any insurance. He's an MD. They're doing alternative treatments, like they're doing NAD IV. So it's and they're doing like immune drips, and they're doing ozone therapy. So that's what they're doing on my dad right now to also help him speed up his recovery. And he's doing amazing. And so this is an MD that's going down that path. And there's I found a group of doctors up in Wisconsin that their goal is to, they only take cash as well. That's the problem, is when doctors decide to do this path, they can't deal with insurance anymore.
Right. So when you look at Amen clinics, so they're based out of California, and they have like 10 clinics around the country and growing. Amen clinics, they are integrative, right? So I mean, they're not saying no to a drug, okay? but like they're leaning and have been leaning for a decade towards doing the scan, knowing exactly what part of the brain is overperforming and underperforming, and what nutrient will help heal the body, heal that part of the brain. They know the exact specific nutrient for that part of the brain that helps that brain, like the basal ganglia. If it's overactive, you're not so much fun to be around. But vitamin D and GABA, things like that are going to make a huge difference. And so it's been happening. It's been happening for years. It's just slow.
Well, I think the insurance issue is the thing that is affecting it. So I guess that means the next step is for us to create an insurance company that will honor holistic healing modalities. So
I think we may move out of the insurance industry altogether.
Yeah, that's what
that really is the next thing.
Yeah. I think we're gonna, this is gonna be a process, I'd say, over the next 5 to 10 years, but we're gonna be moving into energy healing, and the pharmaceutical companies will be going away.
Yeah.
That's my theory.
Yeah.
Let's put that thought out there, because I believe that's what needs to happen. We need to focus on healing people, not just.
And it's going to be, I mean, doctors are great at emergency medicine. Okay. But when it comes to health, when it comes to actually like healthcare, they're not making people healthier. They're making people sicker.
Yeah, and they're not trained in it. So I want to just bring out a really important fact. This is because I worked for a doctor's office for several years, a chiropractor. Here's the thing, guys. It costs money to process the insurance. Okay? So that doctor who goes cash pay can actually serve Laura, if you're the patient, can serve Laura more effectively, more cost effectively. He doesn't have to charge Laura as much because he doesn't have to pay somebody else to do all the paperwork and submissions and this and that. So it's cheaper for everybody all around. Insurance is really another mindset.
Yes.
That it's a way to enable a person to go to someone else, okay, for all their health concerns.
Yes, rather than being responsible for their own health maintenance.
It's massive enablement.
Yes, it is.
But before I want to also say this. So I messed up my neck last night or yesterday, and I'm usually pretty good, but just had some stuff coming out. So I called Laura. Of course, I also got in the tub. By the way, I was in the tub when you were working on me.
It's a good place to.
Spirit is right here. It's like, yeah. See, it's fine now. I'm really pretty good with my body, but I really just messed this up yesterday. And I said, Laura, I hate to ask, can you help me? And you can really feel the releases. And I want to tell you, this is not uncommon what she's doing. It's uncommon that she did it and figured it out so fast like this.
Wow.
Yeah, she basically took it upon herself to figure this out. But I'm going to tell you that I worked with a doctor in Libertyville, a chiropractor who does a lot of energy work. He was my mentor. And in 2018, I don't remember what I called him for, but he was busy. So instead of like me coming in, because he was out with his family, all of a sudden I see my hands are no longer my own, right? And I'm doing like this.
Wow.
This was gone. Like,
wow.
Damn.
So that really is the wave of the future, remote healing, and no more insurance, because we can just do it person to person.
Yeah.
Cut out all the middle people that are unnecessarily just healer and patient.
Yeah.
I think we're definitely seeing that shift. It's going that way for sure.
Yeah,
it's going to take some time.
Healers in our community, we really, really do, and they're all healers in their own right. Lindsay Shifley, who was on the show, she's a chef, and She understands the healing power of food. We have Karen Kawashima, who eventually she will be on the show. She's an amazing energy healer, highly trained. I think for a couple of decades, right, Laura?
Yeah, I don't even know. She's amazing though. She's absolutely amazing.
So Laura and I are grateful, and I'll just say Laura's grateful because I know to be surrounded by amazing healers, amazing people, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So we're and actually, Naima, and you're a healer too, because you have amazing wisdom and listening skills, and your wisdom is healing. Like, you know, it's more like on the therapy side, right? I mean, you know, but I suspect when you, I suspect there'll be some changes for you.
Interesting.
Not going there. Right?
So yeah, we were talking about the heartbreak thing, and could someone?
Oh, and we have two more people asking a question. Do we want to take the caller first, or do we want to go to the heartbreak?
You can take the caller.
Okay. And before we hang up on Andrew, did you have any other question before we cut your mic?
No, you've only got 10 minutes left, so go ahead and I'll keep listening.
All right, Dolly. Okay, so 312-671, we're bringing you on. And who's calling? And what's your question?
Wayon Shalom. Yes, I'm late from Minister Robert Floyd Trump. Is calling from Chicago. And I would like for Brother Andrew to call me a day later. And I want to know, my question is, did you know that healing equals to 23, just like the female solution equals to 23? And I would like
numerologist
to hear unity form.
Did we lose him?
Did the sound go out? I think your sound went out. Yeah.
I think Jodi's frozen.
Uh-oh, that must be it. Ah, okay. I'm not frozen.
No, you're not frozen.
Yeah, I think
Jodi was frozen.
Oh, okay. Jodi, you were frozen for a minute. We lost.
You know what? We just lost Blog Talk.
Oh,
Do you want to see if you can?
Let me see if mine is okay. Mine is still up, but okay. So let me open.
Oh, I can do continue. Hold on, let me see.
Yeah, hit continue, and your phone.
Okay, are you back? I did. So 312-671. Can you hear me? It says host is disconnected.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Let me hit continue and see if it will reconnect.
Made it through most of the show. Only 7 minutes left to go before we. Let's talk about the heart. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yes, because I've had times in my life where might have been going through a difficult relationship situation, and it seemed like it would manifest physically in my body, and then I've heard of people who, maybe after a divorce or a breakup, they get something like congestive heart failure and die. So is that something that actually can happen energetically if you have had a challenging end to a relationship that has been emotionally distressing? Can it affect you physically to the point where it could, take you out of here? I mean, have you ever seen a case like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I was letting you answer first, but I'm all in. Yeah. So what we think of most is what we will create in our life. I cannot for if there's one message actually that I want to send and that I learned with Laura, with her dad,
with her mom, with her sister, is that our thoughts are powerful.
Mm.
And George really turned his life around. His physical well-being, he turned around, and we watched it happen in minutes because there were vitals being measured.
Yeah,
now I'm going to go back to the year 2015 when I was first watched the docuseries, The Truth About Cancer, where they said, you can eat all the organic food that you want, but if you don't take care of what's going on between your ears, meaning your emotional well-being,
yes,
it doesn't matter.
Wow. Wow.
So it just doesn't matter. And so that's why, you know, I teach, like I'm teaching a lot of psychologists about how to protect their energy, how to clear their energy. And then I'm going to tell you, and I really pushed this on them, and they got it, about using essential oils. You asked, what about getting that headache and using peppermint or lavender or what have you? We have a line of essential oils that are just dedicated to emotional well-being. So if you can get rid of your anger in 20 seconds, you can get rid of your grief in 20 seconds. If you can bring in peace in 20 seconds, it allows you to start from heart, shift your energy, which allows you to shift your mindset. That's where your life is going to be saved.
Wow.
And by the way, we can't save your life. You have to save your life.
You have to save your own life.
Mm-hmm.
Saving our own life. Yes.
You have to be responsible and take on the ownership that you are fully responsible for your own life. You can't blame people for what's happening. Only look at you. And when you change your mindset, I'm not saying you're not perfect. God made you perfect. But you kind of messed up a few things up here along the way. We all did. So, by the way, join the club.
Wow. When you fix that, then everything else will follow.
Mm-hmm. Laura, how can people get in touch with you?
They can get in touch with me through either email or phone. So my email is Laura, Laura, at TheBodyTek, TheBodyTek.com.
So I'm going to put that email address in the chat. If I can get my computer to work. Hold on. So actually I have another way to make that happen. So because I have your email address in here. So best that they just does she have a message? Is that why she's
squawking?
So copy address. We're copying the address. So anybody who wants to get in touch with Laura, let me just do this, Laura. Go ahead, Laura, man. You know, you can email Laura at here we go. 1 second.
Yep.
Laura Lohrmann, Laura at TheBodyTek.com, BODYTEK.com.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And Andrew says, "Thank you, Laura. You are a gift to others all day long."
Yes, definitely.
And Laura's like, you know, Laura's got an amazing mindset. I'll just say this, you know, she teaches me daily, you know, about letting go. Really about letting go of expectation, right?
Yeah.
But reach out to Laura if you want to have muscle activation technique done, craniosacral therapy. Did I say that right?
Yep.
And if you want to reach out to Fagala,
what's your email, Fagala?
So, but and here's the thing. I mean, Laura, I don't know. I think it's. Oh, I'm just going to do this to you. Sorry. Time to reach out to Laura if you want to have remote healing done.
So anywhere in the world.
Anywhere in the world, you need remote healing done. I'm seeing her up sale. Sorry, Laura, I didn't ask for permission.
It's a new skill, mine.
What?
Said it's a new skill.
It's a new skill. I'm endorsing your skill. And your skill. Your father, I don't know. He's up.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that, like, if you've got someone who's in the hospital and you want to help them get relief, we're not making a promise, but we are making a commitment. We can help out. We can help if they're opening to listening. And we'll know. We can ask first to see. She's got a message. What's the message? Hold on. She's fine. What's the message? Got it. She wants to send her message. She says, everyone, she says this is a very difficult time, difficult energy, and that everybody needs to start with heart. Remember to start with heart. Okay, is there anything else you want to say? No, that's it. Stop biting me. Before the show ends. Okay.
Yeah, I think our blog talk audience has gone. It's at the top of the hour. But I'm so grateful to have been a part of this show, and I'm feeling so energized. And after watching all those water skiing, I'm gonna go out and do some exercise.
It was great meeting you today.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing you again.
Yes, absolutely.
So we had a lot of activity on our Podbean too. It looks like Bobby. We've got Echo. Thank you for joining our show. Justy, thank you for liking our show. Thank you, Vieta Robinson. Thank you, Zelda Robinson. Sisters from a different mister. Thank you, Andrew Calhoun. And and any other listeners that we didn't know about. I think we've got who else do we have here in the live chat? We had Jamie Zahn. Thank you for watching. And let me see who else is here. We had some other people watching earlier, but we are grateful for your time. And I'm going to run the ending. I know Laura's going to work, and I got a call coming in about a minute. So, thank you. And I'm grateful to have shared your story and your gifts with the world. And I really encourage if you just need to get in touch with Laura and you didn't catch his email and you don't want to listen to the whole show or whatever, just you guys know how to get in touch with me. It's 847-738-0242. Leave a comment in the chat on YouTube, Facebook, wherever you're listening, LinkedIn, and then I'll get you in contact with Laura. All right?
Fantastic. All right.
And I run the ending here. So we can't run ending on Blog Talk because that's gone, right?
Oh yeah, I guess I think your phone connection is gone. So, but you can run one of your commercials if you like. Hey.
No, I'm going to run the ending.
Your visuals.
Just here, I'll watch.